Hey, this is Chris with the Meeples Market. Today we're doing a Kickstarter preview of Mercurial by Hyperlixir. Hyperlixir. I want to say Hyperlixir, but it's Hyperlixir. It's designed by David Go. And this bad boy should be coming on Kickstarter late March. Probably when you see this video. So, this game is a game about mages, casting spells, doing heroic feats, and being the strongest, baddest mage in all the land. So I already have the game set up in front of us for a 2-player game. And just as a warning ahead of time, we've only played it at 2 players. That's mostly how Lynn and I play games. So any information or feedback or opinion that I give is solely based on the 2-player version of the game. As you can see, it's already set up here. There's 3 different decks of cards. There's the heroic cards that are the top row, or the closest row to the camera. The alteration cards are in the center, and then the spell cards are down in the bottom. So to set the game up, you're just going to shuffle up those 3 decks separately. The alteration cards, you need to remove the cards that have a gray side on them and the purple side, so only the blue cards will be there. And then you're going to shuffle those decks and then deal out 6 cards into each row. And then it's, if you're familiar with card games, if you take one of the cards and you slide them down and then you refill the card on the end, kind of thing. So I take this card, everything else. See some magic. Like I said, magic. So you take this card, all these cards slide down, and then you'll flip over the first top card of the deck. The point of the game here is to have the most prestige once the game ends. And the game ends, the end condition is variable based on how many players you have. With a 2-player game, it's the first person who gets 6 of these heroic cards played. That will trigger the end game. And then you'll see who has the most prestige points at the end of the game. So like I said before, the theme is different mages. Out here we have the elementalist and the enchanter. And they're going out here to get these alterations that let them manipulate different elements. The elements are found on these die here, or dice. There's water, earth, fire, and those are like the main elements. And then there's a couple other ones that they kind of let you, I don't know, like manipulate things further, or have different bonus effects that go along with them. So these alterations let you manipulate things by taking one element, transforming it to another, giving you different resources. And then down here on the spell cards that you'll be getting, they have different symbols on them. So you have to assign the dice, roll, you match the colors onto the little slots there, and then you have everything you need to cast that specific spell. And that's pretty much what you're doing throughout the game. On top of that, you got these mana crystals. They're blue. I don't know if these components are final or not. So in the prototype, the blue crystals are mana. The white crystals are called acuity. The mana can be used on some of the cards that have the icon on it to let you use mana. Basically 2 mana equals an element icon. And then 2 acuity can be used in place of 1 mana. So 4 acuity could equal the 2 mana that you would need to replace an element die in order to cast one of these spells. So on your turn, that's what you're going to do. You're either going to take one of the cards from the middle row, you're going to cast all of the spells that you've accumulated in order to do one of these heroic feats that are up top, or you're going to go ahead and prep one of these spells by taking it from here, and when you take it, you have to have the dice that need to be assigned to it when you take the card. So those are your 3 actions that you're doing. To me, the theme seems pretty good. You're doing mage stuff. I mean, I'm not a mage, but if I was a mage, this is what I think mages do. They have alterations and they get stuff, and then they use that stuff to throw spells at people. So the theme's on point here, I would say. Components, and by the way, I'm kind of giving, this is supposed to be a preview video. I'm previewing, and I'm going to kind of give my opinion on things. Because, spoiler, if you don't want to watch anymore, we like the game, and we are supposed to be getting a free copy in exchange for doing this video. We're also going to back the game on Kickstarter though, anyways, because we do like the game. So if we weren't doing this video, we would be backing it, and since we are going to be getting a free copy of the game, we're going to probably back it still on Kickstarter and then use that copy as like a giveaway or something on the channel later. So I like the game. The components, even for a prototype, good stuff. The dice, I'm assuming, you know, we have these custom faced dice. The different gems, I mean, nothing crazy. Everything looks good. The cards are designed well. You could see in the B-roll, the art is like full card art. So you have the art, and then obviously they're also functional. Everything you need to know is seen, but it's not like a lot of games where the card's all framed out and then the card's this big, but the art's only this big. Like, the whole cards are art, and they look good. The art's beautiful. Like I said, play count, we've only played it at 2 players though. We have played it a few times, and as soon as I make this video, we're actually going to play it again. Lynn loves the game, so there's that. The fun of the game, I think it's a fun game. I will say that it is mostly a solitaire affair, so there's not a ton of player interaction really. So if you're looking for a game with a ton of player interaction, this isn't it. It's not the like I don't care what Lynn's doing or anything. There's a lot. It comes into play more of like taking people's spells or seeing what they're trying to what they're going to be prepping, and you can kind of mess with each other with that sense. But there's no like casting spells at each other or anything like that. You know, you're mostly focusing on here's what I'm doing, here's what they're doing. I need to do this more efficiently and quicker than them to get the most points. So not a ton of interactivity, which we're fine with, and that's honestly Lynn's favorite type of game. There's games where she doesn't have to deal with me a lot. So mechanically, things you're doing in the game. Dice rolling. I'm already sold on a game with dice. These have cool dice, so that makes it better. Engine building, in the sense that you're going to be adding cards to your hand, and then you can play that card in order to turn certain resources into other resources, and then if you have another card, whatever, I can turn purples into reds, and then I have another card that lets me turn reds into blues, etc., etc. Whenever you do get these heroic cards at the top, there's icons in the top right corner of them, and a lot of the alteration cards have those icons, so it will tell you that you do this action as many times as you have a blue icon or whatever. So you can also kind of plan your strategy that way to make your cards more powerful as the game goes on. That's most of the mechanics really, is dice rolling, and I would say engine building. I don't know, end game planning. I think I've seen on BGG thrown around. I don't know if I don't consider that a mechanic. I think that's just how games work. Things I would like to see. The only and not even complaint, because I think the game's fine, but the only thing that Lynn and I had discussed that we'd be interested in is a way to be able to cycle the spells out of here. Like some games have a thing where, whatever, you pay 5 acuity and you can discard the last 3 spells, slide everything down, and get new stuff out here. Because sometimes you get to a point where, I don't know, the spells that are out here just aren't spells that I want, or they kind of go against what I already have prepped. And at that point, I'm kind of waiting for Lynn to buy something to make the market move, or I don't know if it's by design. Then you were doing plan A, now you need to kind of fast track, figure out plan B, and switch things up on the fly. So it's not a bad thing, but I personally would like it if you could switch out stuff in the market somehow and cycle things out of the way. Same thing for the alterations. Sometimes it gets to a point, I mean, I think I'm a terrible shuffler to begin with. Lynn will attest to that. We can get a game and I can shuffle the cards, and then you'll get like 17 of the same card in your hand, and there's only 4 copies of the card in the game, so it doesn't make any sense. But sometimes in this alteration stack, it might be like almost all of them that are out here convert like earth into something, and it's like, I don't want to convert earth into anything. I don't like earth. I'm here for fire. That can kind of slow things down. Another thing I would like to see, there is a solo mode. I haven't played it. I read through the rules for it though, and I might play it later on tonight. But I think this would be a sweet setup for like a co-op mode or a co-op version, where I'm not a game designer. I don't know. Nothing's been play tested. I'm spitballing here. But we take this whole mechanic of the rolling the dice, collecting the elements, and prepping these spells. The mages are now on a team, and these heroic cards, they could even be monsters, whatever you want to call them. You could just use these same heroic cards, or you could have another deck of like monsters. These are moving down closer to the village or the base or whatever each turn. And so you're working together to try to be able to eliminate and cast the spells and the combinations that you would need to kill each monster before it gets to the whatever you're protecting. A card makes it to the end, it does damage, something. I think this would be a cool way to work together, because then it can be, I start casting this spell, and then this monster comes out. Len's like, oh, I can take care of this, but I need whatever element. Can you do this? Yeah, I can transmute that for you. And I think it would open up a really cool trade thing. But that's just me talking about what I'd like to see. The game is good as it is. Each of the different mages, they're not like super different. They have different starting stats and stuff, and a couple of them start with different cards, but for the most part they all play the same. So it's not like it's asymmetrical or anything in the sense of like root or anything like that, where each player or each character plays completely different. They have some differences. Another thing I didn't talk about is in the first few games or your first game, it recommends you don't play with these. I think they kind of add to the game though. They go out here and they'll have different effects on them. So just as an example, this one here has 27 red or 38 blue. That tells you that you need to cast your bunch of spells and either meet or exceed 27 red points or 38 blue points in order to get this card. And then what that card does is every 3 spells that used earth on them would get you 2 prestige points at the end of the game. So it kind of gives you like a goal to work towards. And then also, once you achieve that goal, it gives you a bonus or something as the game goes on. Last thing I want to talk about is this card here. So like I was saying before, there's red and there's blue spells. Let's just look for an example. This card here can be cast for 7 red or 10 blue. This card here can only be cast for 7 red. This card here is 4 blue. So let's say I had all 3 of these in front of me, my dice were on them, and I was going to cast these. My options right now would be, I could take the 7 and the 7 red to make 14, and then since there's 4 blue, I would subtract that 4 from that, so it would end up being a 10 value red spell. There's cards in here though that can kind of convert your blues to red, convert your red to blues, whatever. But essentially the red and the blue cancel each other out when they're in your spell, and the goal would be to find an equilibrium where you have an equal amount of red and an equal amount of blue, because that's then going to give you these bonus points down here. So if you had like 6 to 7 of each type, so if I had 7 red and 7 blue, so technically a spell of like 14 power, but they cancel each other out, that would then turn into 10 or 14 red or blue. So the more cards you can use, but equal them out to equal 0, the more benefit you get. At first it was pretty confusing to me. I don't know. I'm not the best at math, so that's probably why. That's that, I think. There's not really much else to say. The game's cool. It plays pretty quick. I think our first game probably took us an hour or so. As we've played more, I think we could, if we were trying to play fast, we could probably play the game in 30 minutes, but I think most games probably take us 45 minutes to play now. So once you're familiar with it, I'd say probably about 45-minute playtime. it's not a complicated game as far as the weight goes. I would say maybe if you're playing bare bones without all the extra stuff in it, if you're not playing with these and you're not playing with this whole equilibrium stuff, I would say the game's like a 2.4. And then maybe like a 2.75 once you add in everything. Maybe a 3. It's the mechanics are simple though. It doesn't take a lot. What the complexity doesn't come in the actions you're doing. It comes in like the planning of what spells you're going to cast and all that, which is more just like using your brain. So if you like to use your brain, get this game. Like I said, we're going to back it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. If you want to know anything or you want me to test anything or you're curious about anything, let me know and I will let you know. But Mercurial, Hyperlixir, David Go, coming to Kickstarter, late March. Be there or be a muggle. Thank you.